Okay, guys, good afternoon. How's it going? I think you're doing okay. Today we're going to talk about two main issues. Number one, we're going to, three issues. Last time we were talking about corrective feedback, so I would like you to have a little conversation about all the issues that we have covered related to that class. And the other one was related to classroom interaction. I think we saw something related to classroom interaction, or we didn't touch that topic.
No, teacher, we didn't.
Okay, so we're going to talk about classroom interaction plus five theories of language learning acquisition by Stephen Krashen. And I have right here the documents for us to work about that. I have done my homework and I was reading for further information or for the required information for me to provide you a very good elements. Sorry using this right here, but being cozy, better class. Anyway, sounds good. Okay. Okay, which documents? I'm going to provide those documents by the end of the class or while the class or during the class. This doesn't work. Anyway, cool. Hi Camila. Welcome back. Okay. I'm going to share my screen right now. No, 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 no. Before doing this, I'm going to here. Okay. And now please follow everybody. Follow my user, my window, right? Okay, now are you watching my window? My screen?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody watching my screen? Yes? No? Yes? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I'm going to use my screen and my camera too. Okay. Okay. So let's start with here. Hey. Let's start with this. Oh, this is going to be the last part we're going to see. But before my slides are opening, I would like you to ask a question related to what you remember related to classroom, feedback, corrective feedback. What do you remember about corrective feedback? Enlighten me. But I need you to talk because as I'm not watching the what the as I'm not watching the screen, so I can't see what you're chatting. Okay? So, corrected feedback. What do you remember? Huh?
Okay, teacher, what I remember about a career is that there are in five different ways to promote a career but according needs that you have in the learning process. But at the same time, there are two main ideas that is the explicit and the explicit and implicit feedback
Mm-hmm.
of that consists of using this kind of alternatives to promote curative feedback. But in the first one is when we are able to, in the implicit one is when we are able to, I don't know if I wrong, but it is when we provide correct feedback. Yes, I don't know if I'm, yes, no, I don't know.
Well, it was a kind of buckle right here in your idea, and yes, well, you were talking about were the two type of feedbacks right here, in which there is going to be a huge difference between the implicit and the explicit one. As Leonardo was explaining, the implicit is going to be just when given some metalinguistic, yes, yeah, metalinguistic components for students, no, sorry, giving some clues for students to realize what they need to know about how to correct that mistake or that error, right? And the explicit one, as the word says, you're going to explain everything, right? Since using cues or using meta-linguistic issues, and also, for example, using some other elements like paralinguistic signs, right?
Right.
Okay, very good. I think I'm going to disconnect my camera because it's reducing the quality of the sound. Very good. Now, by taking that into account, we have to include also some other factors related to the classroom interaction. Right here, we're going to see a kind of a summary on what I'm going to talk about in the following time, let's say following hour, and then we're going to focus ourselves on the issues regarding to uh, the five theories of language acquisition stated by Stephen Krashen. Okay. Okay, so what is going to be classroom interaction? As you see right here, it's going to be just that practice that is going to mix or is going to fuse two very important elements right here, right? So one of those is going to be just, well, both of them are going to be focused on the communicative skill, but mainly related to the speaking and listening process, right? In which, in Spanish, we know that as emisor and receptor, and in English is going to
Mhm.
be related to listener and speaker, right? In which we're going to have something that is called role switching or taking roles, right? In which we're going to switch roles from speaker to listener and from listener to speaker, right? So, for example, right now I'm being the speaker and you're the listeners. Once you want to take the floor, you're going to become the new speakers and I'm going to become a new listener. Okay? Okay, so right here, in this interaction, it is pretended for the learner to be highly competent to think critically and to share their point of view with their peers. Okay? When talking about the peers, I'm talking about the other students and I'm talking about the teacher itself, himself. Okay. So, which could be the objectives right here related to this issue about the classroom interaction? Over there, you see six different objectives, right? So, the first one is going to be to help the learners to identify their own learning methods, right? Number two, to guide the learners to communicate with their peers easily. Then, to help the learners to come face to face with the various types of interaction. Following to that, to aim at meaningful communication among the students in their target language. Then, to aim at proving into the learner's prior learning ability and his way of conceptualizing facts and ideas. And finally, to help the teacher to have a detailed study of the nature and the frequency of students' interaction inside the classroom. Okay, I would like you to give me some ideas about this. Do you think that in your classes, are you perceiving this issue related to classroom interaction by accomplishing these objectives? Do you think these objectives can be accomplished or have been accomplished inside the classroom? Or do you think some of them are just accomplished or none of them?
I guess that some of them,
Like what?
for example, la, 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 eh, to aim at proving into the learner's prior learning ability
Uh-huh.
and his way of conceptualizing, and I guess that it means like we're open to make mistakes at speaking and because we're learning, so that's part of the process and we need that. I mean, we need that kind of approach to the language by just speaking. So maybe that could be one. And obviously the teacher's feedback is necessary, and yep, he gave us, well, the teachers gave the feedback while we speak. And what else? Mm, but
Okay,
there are some no not are that used, I guess.
okay, very good. So right here, if we're going to focus right here, related to this one, related to this one, to aim at probing into the learner's prior learning ability and his way of conceptualizing facts and ideas. We're going to take into account that that what that not all of the learners they're going to have the same skills, right? Or they're not going to they don't they haven't developed their skills at the same way, right? And maybe their level is not going to be the same um, in every course, right? It doesn't matter that, for example, this is going to be a C1 course, but we know that still there are some B2 and B1 users in all over this subject, right? Here, what we're going to take into account is going to be that what is going to be the prior ability that these students have, and also the way in which they conceptualize the facts and ideas, right? And how they are going to express them, right? Okay. Anybody else who agrees with one of those objectives?
Sure. What I see is this, I agree with objective because we're given that in every single class. We have to support in teacher, yes, have to support in this kind of objectives because after that or considering that we can study how students learn activity after an activity
Leonardo, we
while
can
giving
understand you.
ah
Well, I could understand some little issues. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said, let's go to the chat part. Uh, Leonardo said that, uh-oh, I'm lost. Damn it. Okay. So all of that, if we follow all of those objectives, the class would have a better interaction. Am I right on what I'm saying?
yes, you do. Sorry.
Very good. Okay. Well, I was trying to focus myself on this on your interaction and wow. But yes, you're totally right. So if, for example, our class would follow these objectives one by one, right? And one of the things that, for example, Ricardo has stated related to the feedback, right? The interaction would be richer, right? And the learning process would be improved. Very good. Let's continue with the types of classroom interaction. Okay. So we have the collaborative learning, we have discussions and debates, we have interactive sessions, loud reading, storytelling, soliloquies, conversation with learners, and role plays. And I think all of you have at least done or have accomplished one of these activities or one of those interactions inside the classroom, right? I would like you to give me, for example, examples about one of these interactions.
What's a solilo?
Soliloquy. I know what it means, but I forgot the meaning.
And what is
So,
have we done
so
something like that?
Okay, yeah. So have you ever done one of these issues? So soliloquy, an act of speaking one's thoughts aloud when by oneself or regardless to any hearer, especially by a character in play. Ah, yeah. I remember what a soliloquy is. A soliloquy is, for example, when there's a character, right? And he's thinking aloud, and he talks to himself or he talks to the audience, but the rest of the characters they don't they are not listening to him. Example, for example, this happens a lot with Homer Simpson, right? For example, that he's talking to himself,
Mm.
right, with his mind, and then he starts talking aloud, and he thinks that nobody's listening to him, right? That's a soliloquy,
Mhm.
right? There's another
I'm
episode
not
from The
right.
Simpsons in which, for example, there's a representation of Hamlet, right? And in this part, if I'm not wrong, Bart Simpson is Hamlet, and he's talking about the way in which his father was assassinated, right? And next to him was Uncle Mo, and he was
Ah,
listening to
yes.
Bart Simpson, but he said,
Mhm.
"You're not supposed to listen to my loud thoughts. I'm just creating a soliloquy." That's a soliloquy. Okay. Okay. Now,
Okay.
collaborative learning. Give an example about collaborative learning.
Teacher, for example, when we have work to develop an activity and my classmates help me in some doubts, something like that.
Yes, but something's missing. That there's collaboration. If I learn, you learn too.
Is a group work?
Model.
Work in
When we
pairs.
can work and learn one each other.
Work in
Yes.
pairs.
Okay. Yes. But right here, this is not going to be something what? Like work group. This is going to be like, ouch, what happened here? Can I erase this? Well, I was going to here. So it's going to be, sorry for my
Team
handwriting.
work.
Very good. So it's going to be teamwork. Okay. Damn it. Horrible, but well, that's the idea. So yes, it's going to be teamwork right
Eh,
here. Okay. So there's a huge difference between work group and teamwork. What is the difference between work group and teamwork? That work group is going to contain just individual aspects to be developed, and then when all the group is together, they're going to show their advancements, right? So that's what you do in a presentation. I do the introduction, you do the justification, you do the statement of the problem, and then we're going to mix all that together, right? That is going to be a work group. And in that work group, there's no collaboration. In a teamwork, there's going to be collaboration. Why? Because I'm the expert or I'm the one assigned to the introduction. You are going to be the one assigned to the justification, and she is going to be the right one indicated for the statement of the problem, right? Now, yes, I'm using research right here, subject related to research, but all of you are working together. The one that gives the most advancements about the section is going to be the one that has been pointed or selected to do that. But the others are going to collaborate by giving ideas, and that person in charge of that section is going to get all of those ideas and reproduce them inside the segments, right? Now, you that are in charge of the introduction, you're going to give your points of view related to the justification, right? Meaning that this is going to be like a all for one and one for all work. Got it? So, what is collaboration? If I give you something for you to learn, you're going to provide me more elements for me, and in that way, I'm going to learn too. Got it? So that is going to be collaborative learning. You haven't been that far, but yeah. Now, discussions and debates. What is the interaction that you mostly see inside the discussions and the debates? But first of all, is there any difference between discussions and debates?
Teacher, I could say that maybe we express our opinions
Mm-hmm.
um, in both activities.
Okay.
I guess that the debates are more like we have two different positions, and we have to discuss about or defend each position that some group or some people have. And in the discussion, I guess that can be more general. I mean, there will be more people having different thoughts and different points of view,
Mm-hmm.
uh, without putting themselves in a certain position. For example, against or again or I forgot that against or what?
Pro or against, or in and out.
Uh,
Yeah, very good.
yeah, that's basically.
That's it. So right here, the discussion, right, is going to be categorized as, I'm going to see it here. Give me a second, because the information is in my phone. Okay. Now, we're going to take into account right here that in a discussion, you're going to present ideas, but in that, you're going to present ideas, you're going to seek for answers and solutions, meaning that you're going to mediate the knowledge, right? You're going to persuade others. You're going to enlist some other people, right? So this is going to be a discussion, right? But in a debate, you're going to try to succeed. You're going to win this part, okay? You're going to look for weaknesses for you to take advantage about that and once again win. Uh, and you're going to defend your opinions, right? So that is going to be the debate. That is going to be a slight difference between debate and discussion. Now, have you ever been part of discussions and debates inside your classrooms?
Yes, I think that was one of the best examples for this is maybe the exercise changed my mind.
Okay, very good. Now, while talking about these discussions, we have the interactive sessions. And this is an interactive session, right? In which we, or I'm telling you that we have right here one document and we're interacting with this document, right? Now, loud readings, you know what is that? If you have a document, you start reading that aloud. Storytelling, that you know, for example, a story, and then you start reciting it. Soliloquies, well, I explained that. Conversations with learners, right? You're doing that on your course of no the next semester you're going to work with language courses. You're going to provide language courses and then you're going to have that idea of teaching. And also, for example, conversation with learners, the issue related to got it, peer tutoring, right? So in that way that's going to be like that. And role plays, you have been um, exposed to role plays since first semester to sixth semester. And guess what? In ninth semester, you're going to do some other role plays too. And that's all. Well, what else do we have right here related to? What is this? No. Well, we're going to have right here two types of talks. related to the English foreign language, right? So what is going to be right here the role related to the teacher and the second language learner? Okay, so the teachers right here is going to be basically is going to interact with questions. Is going to require to practice a structure, right? Is going to ask questions for him or her to see if the students have learned or conceptualized what was expressed inside the classroom, right? But the role of the student needs to be related to answering those questions, right? Related to any strategy that the teacher is using in order to to see if the student is progressing or not. Okay. And here we see, for example, something related to drilling activities, right? Or drilling type operation. What do you know about this drill type operation? What is a drill activity?
Um, when students pose question and make question to the teacher,
Okay. So,
or both uh, both interact.
very good. So it's going to be related to the interaction. So something like trying to induce the student to learn or to act in a very interactive way. Example, we have choral repetition, right? So in which students are going to repeat as a choir all what has been stated inside the classroom, right? We have, for example, comprehension activities. So you're going to ask a question and the student is going to answer that question by taking into account the previous information provided, right? We have games, right? So for example, who wants to be millionaire? So all of those ideas
Mm,
for the students or for the teacher to persuade the students to be part inside of the classroom. So those are going to be the drilling activities. Okay? Anyway, now there's going to be right here a social and personal input that involves uh, the basis of everyday talking. What is this? That we're going to require students to involve their own contexts inside their learning process, right? So, what is going to involve, as you see over there? Emotions, creativity, agreement, disagreement, people waiting patiently to get a word, sighing, nodding, gesticulating, I don't know, throwing little pieces of paper to your classrooms, sending chats inside our classroom. For example, maybe you have a group in WhatsApp with me, but now I think that you have a secret group for you to talk more freely, right? So all of those ideas are going to be inside the interaction inside the classroom, right? So, for example, people talking among them because they're sharing information, right? Maybe the students didn't understand. Some students haven't understood the whole concept about what has been explained, and while the teacher is talking, they are talking to in order to exchange that knowledge, exchange information to be converted into knowledge, right? So that is going to be the way in which there is going to be another kind of interaction. But what is expected? It is expected to have the teacher as a supportive role, meaning that the student, right, is going to participate in a spontaneous way, right, with the rest of the group, not the teacher taking the floor all the time. What I'm doing right here is reciting the information, providing information, and then what I expect you to do is to have an interaction later on about this topic, okay? There are some classes in which, for example, the teacher is going to have all the importance during the class. Example, when explaining a new topic, right? Now, when talking about a topic that is familiar to everybody, the teacher right here is going to become just a guide or a moderator. Now, what happens with this interaction, right? So, there are going to be right here some issues related to the interaction inside the language, the second language, the foreign language class, right? So, as I was telling you before, there's going to be a direct dialogue at one to one to another. Example, those people that are using, for example, WhatsApp at this moment that I can listen to some sounds is due to, for example, you're having, for example, conversations with somebody else, maybe exchanging information related to discourse, maybe. Well, I hope is like that. If not, well, you have been, or you're talking about some other issues or some other subjects, or basically you're having an interaction with somebody else talking about a different topic, right? In sorry, and inside this interaction, you're going to see that, for example, there's going to be comments which are going to be done immediately, right? So, for example, if I ask you a question right now, you're going to answer to it. So that is going to be an immediate comment. Also, there is going to be another one of kind of interaction that is going to be related to disagree with or challenge, right? So challenge. Example, there's going to be a quiz at the end of the session. Everybody agree?
No, teacher.
Yes, I am.
Okay, now you see the kind of interaction right here. Some of you disagree, some of you agree, and some of you has taken this as a challenge. That's interaction in the end. Okay. Now, for example, there's an interruption one another. What is this? How this happen? Remember that, for example, there was an interference with Leonardo's interaction, and some of you said like, "No, Leonardo, we're not listening to you. It's kind of difficult for you to be heard," right? So that's going to be interruption. Number two, or for example, you disagree and you don't want that person to keep on talking anymore because maybe he or she is wrong, or maybe you want to add your ideas before you forget them, right? The other one is don't have to be invited to speak, maybe meaning you can interrupt. The other issue, you're going to use paralinguistics. Once again, voy a activar la cámara y me voy a condenar por esta vaina. Ok, me voy a convertir en carne de stickers
Por
ahorita.
favor, el que está comiendo, silencia el micrófono que todos escuchamos.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now use of paralinguistics. So paralinguistics, I think my camera is activated. So for example, I have a bottle of water and then you point it at it, right? So that is going to be a paralinguistic element, right? Example, when you ask a question, you say something like, okay, where's, I don't know, let's invent a name right here. Where's Sebastian? And there's one of you pointing at the place where Sebastian is supposed to be, right? So like that. Now, speak when there is a short silence. This is done purposefully by teachers, right? They stop talking for you to ask questions or for you to say something like, I have understood, or no, I haven't understood. I haven't understood this. Now, the best interaction ever is when you are relaxed, right? If you're not relaxed, sorry, but there is not going to be interaction. And there's going to be a common use of the first person and the second person of the singular inside the classroom, right? In my opinion, as you have stated, what I think, uh, taking into consideration your statements, so those are going to be just the interactions that are going to be possibly seen inside the classroom. As a conclusion, so this is going to be for reinforcing the whole concept about this classroom, right? And we need to take into account that interaction is going to be seen in every context possible, right? From having a conversation with your mother, with your father, with your boyfriend, girlfriend, with your friends, with your former, I don't know, relationship, right? There's going to be interaction. Even though when you go to the cafeteria, right, in order to ask for some some snacks or something like that.
Chip.
So, or yeah, in order to, for example, you go to a store and you're going to start negotiating the price. There's going to be interaction, right? Now, let's take into account that the interaction right here could be done in an oral way and at a paralinguistic level, right? So, for example, you're going to see, and here I think I have finished the presentation. Yes, and here, for example, you're going to see that there are some students that you ask them something, or for example, in your presentations, you're going to ask them something, and 20 minutes ago. Once again, you're going to ask them something, and they're going to start nodding, right? So they're going to say yes, or they're going to say no, right? So in that aspect, or in that way, or in that way, you're going to have that kind of interaction, right? That's the first part about classroom interaction. Okay, what have you understood about interaction? We have more elements right here. So, what have you understood about interaction, classroom
I
interaction?
think I think it is about communicating with other people in in different ways,
Mhm,
such as you say the types of classroom interaction.
mhm,
But we also can, for example, discuss or debate in um, we can debate with other people when we are not in classes. We can debate we can exchange ideas and try to um, change the yeah the ideas of another person by discussing with him or with her. And yeah, it's about communicating with other people, I think.
Okay, very good. Now,
Teacher,
yes,
I think it is also about verbal, no, non-verbal, or as you said, paralinguistic exchanges among teachers and students.
very good. What else?
Teacher, what I understand
We
about a classroom interaction is the group of elements that influence in promoting a proper class. For example, the methodology of the teacher, we the knowledge with the students, but at the same the ways we can communicate. For example, our gestures, our voice, sounds, or in this case, are the group of elements that really promote class.
Okay, very good. Camila?
No, they steal my comments.
They stole, past simple.
Ha, ha.
No, no, porque ellos roban. Yo voy a decir algo y lo roban. Entonces es presente.
Nice interaction, okay. Okay, so they are stealing. They are stealing. Very good. Okay. Nice. My question is, can we have written interaction?
Yes, by
Yeah.
typing text, typing.
The author said
By
the
chat.
author said that talking and listening
Through
are the
document.
main components.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So,
Yeah.
example,
But
if we have
I
a
don't know.
forum, do we have interaction over there?
Of course we do.
Okay, so that's the thing that I wanted to think, right?
With
Yep.
comments.
With the comments. So there's going to be interaction.
No,
There's going to be a limitation. There's going to be a limitation right here.
Teacher, also when we have to send a work and you give us a feedback,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Yes. Very good. Yeah. That works too. Okay. Okay. What else? Nothing else? Example, what is going to be the way in which you, as students and as um, as what? And as
Teacher, for
classmates,
example,
you have an interaction. Viviana.
when I watched the video about the class interaction,
Mm-hmm.
when the Chinese girl, no Chinese girl, no, the other one girl didn't know how to say her name,
Very
and
good.
she had to show the paper where her name was
Okay.
written. In that case, could be written interaction, no?
Okay. Yeah, there's going to be a slight concept of interaction in there. Yeah, you're right. Okay, what else?
By chatting.
Yes, of course. We have interaction while chatting, right? So, what elements which paralinguistic elements can you include while chatting?
And
memes.
Memes. Very good. What else?
ay, se me olvidó cómo se dicen las caritas.
Stickers. Emojis.
Emojis,
Emojis.
Emojis. Yeah,
Pedras
that.
stickers. Yeah,
Emojis.
I have like 1 million stickers. Okay. What else?
Images,
Very good.
maybe.
Images. Yes, of course. What else?
Videos,
Gifts.
songs.
Gestures.
Gestures. Very good. Okay. Nicely done. You're understanding. Very proud of you.
Signs.
Very proud of you. Okay, yeah, so that's it. Now let's continue right here with the other element that I have uh, chosen here. Now let's continue with some other issues related to the classroom patterns, interaction patterns, right? Okay. Number one, we have group work, right? So in here, the most important issue is going to be conveying information. What is my issue here? This one. So we're going to convey information, right? Example. Let's say Ricardo has found some relevant information related to Stephen Krashen, right? But in a general way. Now, he is going to be the one that is going to start the presentation. Let's suppose that Camila is going to be the second one, and she's going to continue with the first theory, right? So in this case,
Mhm.
they're going to be some like a conveying information. I have found this information, but I'm going to say it. You have found that information, and then you're going to say it. Okay? In this case, we are going to be just related to something that is called group decision making, right? So that's the way. This is going to be the most important related to the group work. But I don't like the idea related to group work. What I like is going to be the idea related to teamwork, and it sounds even better,
Mm.
right?
But does teamwork
Teacher,
and group work is different? Are different?
Yes, group work and
Yeah,
teamwork, they're
because
going to be different.
groups. Yeah, because in
yes,
groups, I guess that we can split the roles, and
Yes,
in team we're just like thinking as one brain, I guess,
very
something like that.
good. Very good. That's
Okay.
it. Okay.
teacher, what's the meaning of close-ended in ended teacher questioning?
Okay, closed-ended teacher questionnaire. What is
IRF.
that? It's what I usually do. I ask questions. For example, did you understand? That is a closed question, right? A closed-ended question. So the closed-ended teacher questioning is going to be cynically called this one. Guess what the teacher wants you to say, right?
Teacher, but in that case, that would be like awkward because that would be your personal opinion, and maybe, well, in that case, teacher doesn't take into account students' points of view, maybe.
Yeah, sounds like that. And yeah, so I'm going to rephrase that. It is not going to be something like a kind of awkward because you can redirect what you want the student to say. Example, if I ask the following question like, have you understood the topic? I want you to say yes, right? That's what you think. But what I
Ah,
want,
that's
yeah,
different.
that's what I think. But what I really want you to tell me is no, I have some doubts about this and this, right? So that's the issue. If I ask, for example, with a rude voice, I'm like, okay, everything's clear, and then I create like something with a facial expression. So the issues right here are going to change. The ideas are going to change. And maybe most of you are not going to are not going to what? Are not going to comprehend or are going to be just influenced by these ideas, right? Example, if I say, okay, did you understand? So you're going to say like, oh, yes. In your inner part, you're saying something like, this guy is kind of cranky. I don't want to ask him questions because maybe he's going to be rude at me, right? So maybe. So here, we need to be very careful with this issue. The type of questions that you're going to ask is going to create a very good aura, a very bad atmosphere for you to uh, work with the students. The other one is going to be individual work. So the individual work is going to have just a relationship between student and teacher, and that's it. Example, there's a presentation, but it's individual presentation. It's going to be an oral quiz. So what to take into account about that? Then the choral responses. Example, uh, in a choir, let's say, and this happens a lot in mathematics. Example, you ask and you say something like, okay, 2 plus 2, and everybody in a choir is going to answer 4, right? So it's going to be like that. Example, Let's repeat the conjugation of the verb to be in present simple. I am, you are, and that's going to be the choir. Collaboration, we have already seen that. A student initiates and teacher answers. Example, that is going to be like, for example, debates or panels, right? In which the student is the one is the expert on the field, and then they're going to ask questions to the teacher or to the rest of the students for them to see if the information that was already provided by the presentation or inside the presentation or by the students was correctly understood or was totally understood. Okay? Full class interaction in which everybody talks, right? Not only the teacher. Well, the teacher is going to intervene, but uh, at a minimal way. For example, what I do right here, teacher talk, right? But right here, um, this is going to be just mainly, well, it's not what I do. This is going to be just mainly related to the teacher asks us and the student does. Easy as that. I command you to do something and you do it. Example, write down 500 times the following statement. Self-access, meaning autonomous work. And open-ended teacher questioning. For example, I can ask you a question related to, okay, would you mind to give me an example related to a student initiates and teacher answers? An example about that? That's the question.
Teacher, I don't get it. Could you repeat it, please?
Okay. No, no, that was a technical question. Not to worry. Okay, so yeah, open-ended question
Uh,
is going to have a lot of answers, but closed-ended questions they are going to have just one answer, right? Closed-ended questions is going to be, for example, okay, what do you think about virtual classes? A, they're good. B, they're bad. C, there needs improvement. D, there are some teachers that are taking into account the presential issues and the virtual part. So what do you think about that? Then you're going to have your
um,
answers, right? But I know that
yeah,
I'm going to
and
have
those
just
are open.
no, those are closed because
It's closed?
I have just
Okay.
four answers, and I'm not going to allow you to give me a fifth answer. No, from those four answers, you're going to give me four different points of view, right?
Mm,
But open-ended questioning is going to be something like a, what is your point of view related to the virtual classes by taking into account the pandemics we are facing through or we're going through. No, I think that this, I think that, I think that. So then you're going to have a lot of possible answers, right? So that's going to be the interaction.
mm, okay.
Okay. Now, which could be the advantages and disadvantages of this question? Sorry, of this interaction. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes for you to think of a very good idea related to interaction, right? So, which could be the advantages and disadvantages related to the interaction inside the class? But don't let's not be that limited, right? Do not limit your scenarios and start thinking also about the virtual learning process, right? Or the virtual learning classrooms. So the interaction, the advantages and disadvantages about the virtual learning classes and the virtual learning classes, the virtual classes, and also about the presential classes or the face-to-face classes, right? So take 2 minutes about that, and then yeah, and then what happened here? Okay, and then we're going to continue uh, with the class. Okay, 2 minutes. Think about it. Okay, right here, let's say we're going to start these 2 minutes right now. 2 minutes. Please mute that. Ready? You ready? Guys.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
teacher.
Okay.
Yes, teacher.
Very good. Okay. Now.
Yes, teacher.
Uh,
I'm starving.
what happened?
No, teacher.
What happened here with my computer? You're
¿Y
watching.
ese
You're.
es RCN o qué?
Caracol.
It's Caracol.
Caracol.
Okay.
Ay, era caracol, qué pena.
Ustedes se imaginan.
Okay, guys. So right here. Okay, which are going to be the advantages and disadvantages of virtual classes and face-to-face classes. Guys, advantages of virtual classes and disadvantages of virtual classes in terms of interaction.
Teacher, I think one advantage would be that we develop more autonomy and we are like we have to work by our own way,
Yes.
and I think that is a kind of advantage because we are like or I mean it's mandatory that we work yes or yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, cool. So we're talking about yes.
Leonardo, we
Let
can listen.
we can understand your voice.
It sounds like a robot.
It does. Okay, no, no, just a minute. I know how to deal with this. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to the chat room. Beep, 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 beep. Leonardo, please write because is Leonardo here? So you can write your ideas.
Teacher, teacher.
Okay. In the meantime, Leonardo's writing his points of view. Um, Someone else can state his or her ideas. Who's next?
Teacher, I think in virtual sessions, so interaction could be affects the time. I
Mm-hmm.
think uh, virtual
Why?
sessions will take more time because many factors such as internet connection, some noises at home, um, for, for that reason. And also we didn't used to have virtual classes, so we don't know how to control our interactions. So now we are learning how to do that.
Okay, very
In the
good.
same
And
way, in the same way, I think
Teacher,
that there are some students who don't have a computer and they don't have any kind of
yes,
internet
exactly.
connection, and that is
mhm.
the reason why some students don't
Can
return to
develop
their
uh,
hometown.
Okay, very good. Okay.
and
yes,
and
teacher for me.
face-to-face interaction could be when we are working in groups. Teacher could lose the control,
Lose.
uh, lose, sorry,
Yeah.
and also it will be much noise,
Okay.
and also we could talk in our mother tongue or in our Spanish language.
Okay, very good.
Teacher,
Camila, and then sorry, I'm going to give right here. I'm going to give some floors right here. Camila, then Lina. Leonardo says virtual classes provide more time to develop tasks. Okay, I do agree. Okay, so
Yes,
Camila,
but
Lina, and then Leonardo Uran. Okay, Camila.
I think in some cases there are lack of flexibility
Hmm.
or plenty of works or labors to do. For example, for some teachers, they think we have all the time for doing activities. For example, last night we had to develop one oral presentation for
Hmm.
today,
Ooh.
but I think that specific task
Okay, go on.
uh, that specific we needed more time or enough time to prepare that oral presentation, and maybe some teachers don't take into account that specific part about flexibility. And as Alex said, some students can access to internet and they can do activities, videos, just maybe WhatsApp or uh, that maybe Yes, social media, maybe.
Very good. Okay, I do agree on your terms. Camila? Very good. Okay. Rude. Yeah, I was a little bit rude. Yeah, Alex. Okay, cool. Lina. Lina. Ricardo, you're after Leonardo.
Teacher, another disadvantage can be no control over the learning atmosphere
Hmm.
because inside the classroom, like you can, like you are face to face with the students and you can ask the questions directly. So instead of in the
Quit it, Ricardo. Quit it.
because here you can like you have no control because you have to say, Alex, are you there, can you answer? So in the classroom is different because you have to answer immediately.
Yeah, it happens, right? So right there inside the classroom, you're
So
going to say like, sorry, Alex, are you here? No, you're not here. Are you here with the cell phone? Are you connected? Yeah. Do you have data in order for me to receive an answer? No.
yeah.
So very good. Yeah. Leonardo Uran. Leonardo.
Okay, teacher.
Okay.
Um, I think that virtual class it's better in order to say what the students can learn in their own time. That means that the manner of the method to learn it's something like personalized,
Personal,
but I think
personalized.
that the methodology personalized. Okay, but I think that the methodology or the pedagogy it's a little thing that it's necessary to revise because, for example, it's necessary to think in presential classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. What is the amount of the team that you can learn in that moment in that time?
Mm-hmm.
But teachers in virtual classes don't think about that and only choose the themes without thinking what is the real time that the students needs to learn and to interiorize that information.
Interior, interiorize, not interiorize.
Okay, interiorize that information. It's what I think.
Okay, very good. Ricardo.
I guess that virtual interactions had improved like the written interaction that we had with the teachers. I mean, the feedbacks are more, I guess, that more clear than they used to. And maybe the oral interaction is the one that has been really affected because of internet issues and because of not only connectivity, also because of the devices we use to connect or to communicate our ideas through to the class. So maybe that can be the disadvantages, but it also has advantages, as I said, for the written interaction. But yeah, basically that is what I thought.
Okay, very good. We all do agree on that. Okay, Juan Carlos says virtual classes have pros and cons because there are a lot of students without internet connection, and that's right. And in rural areas, internet connection is not present. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not in there. But at the same time, the time to present the assignments is longer and the autonomous work is applied in a better way. Yeah, so I think maybe we're going to become experts on autonomous work. I think, I don't know. That's my what? My Jesus Christ. my utopic idea. Okay. Okay, very good. So let's continue with the presentation. So very good. So we all do agree that we need to have the presential part too, right? The face-to-face classes. Okay. Okay. Now this not and nope. Okay, here. Okay, when asking questions inside the interaction protocol, we're going to see or we're going to evidence or witness the following issues. Number one, that we need to provide a model for language part thinking. Example, for A1, there are going to be some ideas. For A2, there are going to be some more ideas. And for A3, B1, B2, C1, there are going to be just ideas to be covered, right? A protocol to be covered, right? Now, we need to find out something from the learners. How? You need to ask. No matter if the student is right or wrong, we need to take into account the student's voice, right? So example, everybody right here was stating their voices, right? Via chat or via or orally, right? So in that way, there's going to be the interaction right here. Now to check or to test understanding, knowledge or skill. So how are we going to be supposed to see if the students how are we going to say if the students have understood the topic or not, right? We cannot assume that the student is going to understand everything, right? Clear, clear, clear. So we need to know if the student is understanding the topic, the knowledge that the student has acquired, and the skills that have been improved or not. Now, to get learners to be active in the learning, meaning our autonomous learning, right? I I give you the path. I give you the route. I give you the directions. And when I'm talking about I, it's me as a teacher. But you, as students, you need to start following the path. You need to take the light and then go through the tunnel, right? You need to take those directions and start looking for your own horizons, right? So that's the idea. Number four, five, to direct attention to the topic being learned, right? Then, to inform the class, via the answers of the stronger learners rather than through the teacher's input. Now, so right here we need to see which are the strengths provided by the students. Then, to provide weaker learners with an opportunity to participate, and this is crucial, my students, my dear students. Here, the interaction is going to be focused on those students that they cannot talk or they don't like to talk, or maybe they don't have enough implements for them to talk or for them to interact, right? For those shy students, we need them to talk, right? That is why, for example, there are going to be two situations inside the classroom, and then you're going to tell me if I'm right or not. Number one, the students that participate the most, some teachers, they use them all the time, and their class is going to be focused on those strong students.
Teacher,
Yes?
are you sharing the screen because I can't see anything?
I think nobody's listening to, nobody's watching to my screen.
Nobody.
No.
Oh, no way.
Did you explain and we didn't?
I was sharing my screen.
No, you
Again.
weren't.
Damn it.
You
Okay,
weren't.
now
Uh,
That's
No,
great.
look for my screen. Look for my screen.
no, it only appears the logo of a monitor,
Yeah, but do you see?
something.
Okay,
No, just the logo
just the
of
logo.
the screen.
Look
Yeah,
for my
man.
screen.
Yeah, I'm on your screen indeed, but I
No,
can see
same
your.
teacher.
Nothing?
No,
That's
same.
weird. Once again. Okay.
No, teacher.
Can you see now? Can you
No,
see me
teacher.
now?
I can see
Yes.
your
Yes,
face.
Okay, now that
Yeah.
ugly
your
face now.
face, but not the short screen.
Okay. Now the screen?
Yeah. Now, yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Okay, very good. Don't know what happened.
So, were you explaining?
I was explaining, yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay, here. Once again. So here. Now you see the reasons for questioning, right? Guys, are you watching my screen? People. Very
Yes.
good. Okay. So the first one I told you to provide a model for language or thinking. So you're going to give the directions, the clues. Number two, to find out something from the learners, to find out what the learners are thinking, what the learners know, what the learners want to share, to check or test understanding, knowledge, or skill, right? So, for example, have you understood the parameters inside to be used, sorry, inside what future perfect continuous in passive voice is? So, boom, use it. Then, to get learners to be active in their learning, I was telling you to be autonomous. Then, to direct attention to the topic being learned, right? Meaning, you need to be focused on your topic. You're not going to talk about any other topic, right? So, if we're talking about passive voice, do not start talking about adjectives. No, one topic at a time and then draw your attention to that topic, right? Then, to inform the class via the answers of the stronger learners, I was talking about this, rather than through the teacher's input, right? So in this case, what I'm talking about is to direct this class on how to follow those ideas stated by the stronger student, the stronger learners, right? The ones uh, with the high level skills, right? To use those skills as a reference, right? Now, the other is to provide weaker learners with an opportunity to participate, meaning that these weaker learners, they are not going to have the guts or the ability or the intention to participate. Why? Because maybe they are going to, how can I say this? They are going to think that if they are wrong, they are going to be bullied, right? I want you to be
Mhm.
out of that idea. So we're going to provide these spaces for them to talk and for everybody to collaborate in their own learning process. Now, to stimulate thinking, logical, reflective, or imaginative, right? To prove more deeply into issues, right? So here we're going to be like researchers. Then to get learners to review and practice previously learned material. Therefore, the pre-knowledge that students have is going to be very important to be implemented inside the classes. Continue with this. To encourage self-expression, right? So allow the students be the way they are, but inside the pedagogic process, right? So meaning taking into consideration the positive factors that they can include inside the class for the class uh, to be richer. Then to communicate to learners that the teacher is genuinely interested in what they think. So you're not going to say something like, "Oh yes, all that what you're saying is right." No, it's not just saying. You need to mean it. You need to show that you're really interested on that. Therefore, if your students have used very good ideas, we use them for them to see that you're paying attention to them. let's continue. Okay, which criteria do you have for these questions? Okay, the questions need to be clear, right? Number two, the learning value. You're not going to ask questions just because. No, the questions need to be focused on one objective. Interest. You're going to try to see what Brunner and what Brunner stated related to and Vygotsky related to how important is going to be the lesson, right? Or how difficult. If the lesson is going to be highly difficult, the student is not going to be is going to feel demotivated because it's going to be too difficult. But if the topic is going to be, but if the topic is very easy, so you're going to demotivate the student too, right? Okay, the availability. So, what is this? It's going to be just focused on how available the information is going to be found for them to interact with the teacher or with the other students, right? Extension. Who is going to answer the question? How many questions are going to ask, and how many students are going to answer the questions, right? And the reactions. Take care about your reactions. These reactions need to be extremely positive. No matter if the student has made a mistake, right? These these mistakes are not going to be a kind of capital sentence for the students. So no, you need to tell them that from the mistake, there's going to be also learning. And that's all. Okay, guys. How are you feeling? Good? Not that good? Understood about this topic? Ouch. Guys? Ricardo. Ricardo quisiera hablar. Ricardo. Okay. Here it appears like you want to talk.
Él quisiera, pero no puede.
Okay. You're anxious? Okay. Guys, may I continue or do you want to have a kind of recess?
Teacher, I have a question about
Okay, one at a time, please. Who has the question?
me, teacher. I don't understand what does it mean. What is writing from diction?
Writing from
Writing from diction. Writing from diction.
this one? From these slides?
Yes, yes.
Which one? Writing from diction.
Teacher talk.
Teacher reaction?
Teacher talk. Some kind of silent students.
Ouch, I'm kind of lost. And which one? Clarity, learning value, interest, availability, extension, teacher reaction? I'm lost. Or in the previous slides?
Uh, I think it's previous slides. It's about individual work.
Here.
Collaboration.
Okay. Diction.
Yes. Teacher talk.
Teacher talk. Here. This may involve some kind of silent student response, such as writing from dictation, but there is no initiative on the part of the student. Well, diction right here is going to be just the way in which you're going to choose the words, right? So if we look, for example, Merriam-Webster dictionary, then no, even better. What is this? Auditory devices. I want to explain what is that. Diction. Okay, diction is going to be the way or the words chosen from the speaker or the author, right? So the kind of language you're going to use, example, if it's going to be scientific or pedagogic or it's going to be colloquial, right? So the diction is going to be the choice of words from the teacher or from the students in order to create the what? In order to go on with the communicative process. Okay?
The lexicon.
Very good. Lexicon. Yes. So that is going to be the in which we have formal, informal, and colloquial, and also slang. So that is going to be diction. Okay? Very good. Okay, I had another question right here. I was asking you if we want recess or do you want to continue? Because I'm going to continue with Stephen Krashen's ideas related to the 5 main hypotheses on second language acquisition. But yeah, and this is going to take 1 hour. So, do you want to have a break, something like for you to, I don't know, get some fresh air or something like that inside your house, or for at least to take a sip of water, or to eat something what you have inside your
Yes,
house?
teacher, I receive.
Okay, guys.
Please.
So let's meet in 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to recover some kind of something from my head because it's kind of aching, right? Okay, so see you in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, teacher.
5 to 10 minutes. Got it?
Okay.
Okay, very good. I'm going to this. Dejen esto encendido y en 5 a 10 minuticos nos encontramos. Voy a pausar aquí la grabación. Okay, so we continue with the recording and with the class. Okay, so let's talk about Stephen Krashen. Do you know who Stephen Krashen is? No? Yes? Do you know who Stephen Krashen is?
No.
No? Well, homework to look information about Stephen Krashen. I'm no kidding, right?
He said that only kids could acquire a language.
Very good, yes.
Yeah,
So that's it. Okay, very good.
but he said it was wrong.
Okay, very nice. What is this? No. Now, let's continue right here. Okay, Stephen Krashen. Kind of long, but it's a very good slide. So, okay. I'm going to use this information from this Chulalongkorn University in Thailand, but it's a very good material, trust me. Okay, so for Stephen Krashen, we're going to take into account some little aspects. Number one, the 5 hypotheses that he created related to the language acquisition, right? And number 2, that is going to be the first thing that I'm going to explain a little bit about Stephen Krashen background. Okay. So right here, we're going to take into account some ways in which the foreign language or the second language acquisition is going to be related, right? So the second language acquisition of the foreign language acquisition needs to be or is going to be focused on the natural approach, meaning that you're going to use the language by a total exposure without any kind of translation, right? So, by saying this, you need to create or we need to combine the curriculum, meaning all the topics that we're going to use for the student to learn step by step every requirement established based on the Common European Framework of References, right? All of this by taking into account the learning process on the student. Based on what or for what? For us to be focused on the spoken production. Okay, Stephen Krashen and Tracy Terrell, they developed the approach called natural approach in 1983, right? And in which the ideas right here were mainly aimed at developing the language or the oral proficiency uh, that are not going to require rules, grammar rules, or a tedious drill, meaning tedious activities for the students to be in touch. And they're going to say, for example, repetition activities, something like I am listening, and that is going to be um, present continuous, right? So
Okay.
here we're going to
So basically, like the acquisition of, I mean, I guess that the mother tongue is the only one that is acquired in the early beginning, right?
very good. Yes. So in the same way, Terrell and Krashen, they were supposed or they were providing ideas on how to teach the language at a natural way, right? So meaning what? Talking in English or in French or whatever language you are going to teach all the time, right? No explanations in the mother tongue. Or maybe little to non explanations, right? So, for example, when the student is totally lost, we're going to use the mother tongue, but just to give some little clues about everything, right? So, as we see right here in the second row, in the second column, sorry, we're going to see that acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language. Therefore, we're going to require right here something else conveyed by Oswald, Vygotsky, and Piaget related to meaningful learning. Okay, and all this communication needs to be done at a natural way, right? In which, right here, the speakers are concerned not with the form of the utterances, but with the messages they are conveying and understanding. Example: when we were little kids, right? We wanted to say something, we wanted to express something, right? And for us, that was the highest expression of communication that we could do at that moment. Example, um, something that happened to me in the previous days with my cats is that I have right here three different cat food, and one of those cats was pointing out, well, not with the fingers, but with its head, the type of food he wanted, right? So he wanted a type of food that is new, and he wanted that type of food, not the other ones. 30 minutes later, the other cat was sat next to its dish, right, to its bowl, and the communication factor right here was human. I need food. I'm starving. And the bowl was completely empty, right? So that happens. That those are going to be the, well, not utterances, but paralinguistic elements. But also the human being right here is going to be using both things, utterances and the paralinguistic elements. Example: let's say um, 1 year old babies or 2 year old babies, when they're starving or they want something, they say that. For example, tete, mama, right? Because he or she wants that, and that's the communicative factor, right? So example, another part right here. I don't remember. Another example. Got it. There's one example. Yo quiero something, right? I want this. I want that. There are no more words, but that's the message, right? And with that starting, this is going to be the beginning uh, of our path of communicating ideas, right? Okay. By taking into account this, Richard and Rogers, 2001, they talked about some aspects by taking into account Krashen on regards to the theory of language. This theory of language is going to be just focused from the cognitive psychology and the human approach by taking into consideration Krashen's 5 theories on second language acquisition or foreign language acquisition in our case, right? By providing a 180 degrees perspective on how to teach the language and to learn at a meaningful way, right? Now, let's start with the first one that is going to be the acquisition and learning hypothesis. Let's go back.
Teacher,
Yes?
I read something about acquisition that was related to the acquisition process was mainly focused on the communication part, regardless if they were doing good or wrong. They only care about the well, they only care that their
Mm-hmm.
ideas were well connected and were understood for the other one. So Grammarly here weren't that reviewed and necessary,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Give me a moment. Okay, yes. So what you're saying is right. Here, we're not going to take into account the grammar perspective, right? Why? Because at a natural way, um, we don't learn our foreign language. Oh, sorry, we don't learn our mother tongue or our L1 by taking into account the grammar. No, we learn that in a natural way. By doing what? By total exposition to the language itself, right? Therefore, it says right here that from Richard and Rogers, 2001, language acquisition, an unconscious process developed through using language meaningfully by stating what? Number one, commands. Example, open the door, bring me the food, um, please give me money, please repeat, right? By showing the learner or the user the importance of communicating your ideas in a clear way, right? Now, this language acquisition is different from language learning, in which you're going to do it in a conscious learning or discovering rules about the language. Now, when you are aware about this, it's because you're understanding the language at a linguistic way. Example, when you see the grammar, when you see the syntax, the pragmatics, the semantics, the phonetics, right? In this language acquisition is only way competence in second language can develop, in a second language can develop. So therefore, by stating this, it can be assumed that the language is going to be acquired at the same time or at the same way the mother tongue was um, understood and learned, meaning that it's going to be a kind of unconscious, right? So unconsciously, you start creating patterns, but consciously, you're understanding what those patterns are, right? So acquiring unconscious, learning conscious. Got it? Now, we're going to have right here Yes?
Wait a minute. I don't. Conscious is learning, and unconscious is
Acquisition.
acquired.
Yes.
Acquisition.
Yes. So
Okay.
when you
Okay.
acquire something, right, it's because there's going to be uh, an exposition, an expose, right, to the language, and then you're going to understand something. Example. I'm going to ask this question in Spanish. ¿Por qué ustedes aprendieron a decir parce, parcero? Ah, porque, por ejemplo, una palabra más coloquial aquí en esta parte de Santander, toche o pingue, ¿por qué aprendieron a decir esas palabras?
Porque se la escuché decir a otra persona que conozco.
Ajá. ¿Y eso cómo se llama?
It's for our environment.
Because of the environment. So that is going to be acquisition, right? So for example, here in this part of the borderline between Santander and north of Santander, there's going to be expression that is kind of hilarious, but I really like it, and it says something like mucho haber poquita gente, mano. And people say that, and people repeat that, right? Yes, there's going to be a juxtaposition of things over there, but people say so, right? People say so, sorry, my mistake. And the other thing, for example, when we say right here, mano, for everything we say mano, right? So why do we say that? What's the semantic intention when we're using those words? So that's going to be acquisition. Now,
And there is a background that has been affecting the process.
maybe not affecting, but influencing the process, right?
Influence.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we go to the rural part, to the border part of a city, so you're not going to use something like toche, mano, but you're going to use some other words like perro, ñero, right?
Yeah.
So those are going to be acquisition in which the environment is going to teach you at an unconscious way what you are going to say. But when you're learning, example, you're not going to say, for example, the acquisition says, mucho haber poquita gente, mano. But when you're learning to use the language at a very good way, now the learning hypothesis says that this is going to be just consciously learning, discovering rules about language. So you're not going to say mucho haber poquita gente. So you're going to say hay una mínima participación de la población en este momento. You learned how to use language by taking into account your previous knowledge, right? So that's the way in which we're going to keep on working here. Got it? Now, we're going to take into account right here 3 different aspects related to this acquisition focused approach. The first one is going to be the oral okay, the the oral comprehension, meaning the auditive comprehension, right? What you understand by listening. No interaction, just listen and repeat, listen and comprehend, listen and memorize. The second factor is going to be the early speech production, meaning that you are going to try to create your own ideas, taking into account what you have listened. And the third one is going to be the speech activities, meaning the natural part. That is to say that I talk, you talk, and then I listen, you listen, and there's going to be over there a communicative process. right? So right here, this language acquisition, as I already stated, is going to be the way in which kids or children would learn the native tongue, right? So this is going to be the first part. Is going to be just the silent period, and this goes for learning process too. First you listen, or first you read, and then you interact. Got it? Now let's see right here the differences, right? The systems in which acquisition and learning are going to work, right? So if we were saying that that the acquisition is as a product of subconscious processes, we're going to take right here into account um, some relevant aspects. Number one, that this needs natural communication in the target language, right? So if you
Mhm.
listen a lot, therefore you need to produce a lot too. Why? Because you need to practice, right? The more you listen, the more you can speak. But if you don't listen to anything, how are you going to be supposed to produce? Number two, informal situations. So, got it. So, this is not going to be a very formal context. No, the first context that you're going to have is going to be your family. The second context that you're going to have is going to be the street. And the third context you're going to have is going to be school. And even though inside school there's going to be informal situations, right? The only formal part is going to be when you're going to learn something that is going to be targeted. Another element right here is going to be the attitude, right? So if you don't like to talk about something, you just leave the conversation, right? But if you like it, you stay over there, right? This is mostly seen in, for example, in, let's say, this phenomena inside the social media, in which, for example, if you see a post that you like it, you start interacting over there. Why? Because that is your attitude. And then you're going to use a grammatical feel. What is that? What is going to be a grammatical feel? It's going to be the way in which you have understood or conceived the grammar, right? So it's going to be like that. The way in which you feel the grammar is good or is going to be implemented is going to be the way in which you're going to use it, right? Example, in Spanish, there's a problem or there's an error or a mistake in which people say, sorry, habemos 10 personas hoy. And it is correctly to say, hay conmigo 10 personas hoy, right? Example, la amoto, la afoto, right? So that is going to be the grammatical field. What you have understood, what you have learned, acquired, sorry, it's going to be the way in which you're going to express it. On the other face of the coin, we're going to find the learning. That is going to be a product of formal learning. Therefore, this is going to be a conscious process, right? And in which you're going to learn the rules of the language. Therefore, we're going to use grammar and we're going to use syntax, and of course, we're going to use pragmatics, right? And syntax too, semantics, and phonetics. All of this talking about the formal situation that is going to be focused on education and academy. And here, this depends on two factors too. The attitude, because motivation right here is going to be crucial, and aptitude, right? So therefore, if you're able to do so, so meaning if your level is good enough for this subject, you're here. If not, you need to go to the previous course. And then we're going to use rules, which are going to be the strengths and weaknesses about this acquisition learning hypothesis. Okay, so the strength, this is going to be learned just naturally, right? But the weakness right here is that all the ideas related to the rules are going to be memorized, right? So the more you use the language, the better learning process you're going to have. But if you don't have a very good context for you to learn it, so there's not going to be a very significant or meaningful learning. Okay. So right here, by Greg 1984, these concepts about acquisition, subconscious, and learning conscious are not clear enough, right? So that's the idea related to the acquisition learning process. Let's continue with the monitor hypothesis. What is going to be the monitor hypothesis? So monitor is going to be how much learning are you going to get. You are going to monitor your ideas. You are going to monitor what you want to learn, right? So here, the acquisition is the utterance initiator, right? So you have acquired some elements from the language, and that's going to be the starting part or the starting spark for you to continue, for you to go on, right? While the learning system performs the role of the monitor or the editor. Therefore, they're going to tell you what to learn and until which point you're going to learn it. As we see right here in this image, so the acquired competence is going to be related to it's going to be highly related to the learned competence, meaning the monitor, and then you're going to see if this works by setting the output, meaning what you have understood, and you're going to replicate it. Based on Krashen, there are going to be three conditions right here: time, focus on the form, and if you know the rule or if you have to know the rule. So here, there's going to be an individual variations in the monitor use. There are going to be three ideas right here. Monitor over users are learners who attempt to monitor all the time. So therefore, they decide what to learn all the time, right? So this is going to be extremely autonomous. There's going to be the monitor under users are learners who prefer not to use their conscious knowledge. So they're going to acquire. Therefore, they're going to be there just to understand, comprehend, but maybe they're not going to interact. And finally, we have the optimal monitor users. And these learners are going to monitor appropriately. Therefore, they're going to see what they're going to learn by taking into account the levels they need to accomplish, right? And that's it. Now, which are going to be the weaknesses right here? So, as we have to take into account that learning right here is going to be autonomous, we're not going to see how much information is the student going to, or the learner is going to acquire, right? We don't know if the student is going to be totally motivated on what he or she is learning, right? We don't know if the speech is halting. In other words, it's stopping, right? Or that right here, if the speech is going to contain some kind of doubts. So for example, you're going to create something, you're going to create some utterances, but in the end, you're not sure if what you're saying is right or wrong, right? And this focus more on accuracy. Therefore, on what you have stated to learn. right? So if, for example, what you're going to learn is precise or not, and what about the precision on the data you're getting for you to extract all that knowledge, sorry, extract all that information and convert it into knowledge. Okay. Okay, so there's going to be an application right here for teaching, right? In order to produce optimal monitor users, and remember what optimal monitor users are. They're going to learn by taking into account what they can do, by taking into account their own learning process or learning skills, right? So in this case, both teachers and students, they need to create rules for them to remember and to implement this knowledge, right? And also, this is going to be focused on communicative competency. Therefore, there's going to be a slight, very not a direct, um, a direct relationship between accuracy and fluency. The more accurate you are, the more fluent you are. Why? Because you have been an optimal monitor all over your learning process. So far, so good. Have you understood the two previous ideas, the acquisition learning hypothesis and the monitor hypothesis? People?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Okay, give me ideas related.
Teacher, could you repeat the question, please?
What? What again? Sorry? Can I what?
Can you repeat the question?
Ah, yes, that you have understood the what? The ideas related to acquisition learning hypothesis and the monitor hypothesis.
Teacher, it's clear.
Okay. Would you mind to give me examples related to would you mind to give me examples about the acquisition learning hypothesis and the monitor hypothesis as you have understood that, right? No matter if you're right or wrong, well, but try to give me ideas. How could be the acquisition learning hypothesis be evidenced and how the monitor hypothesis can be witnessed to?
Acquisition, maybe when a baby is learning his or her mother tongue, because it's a whole process, but without taking into account grammar rules, but he or her learn, no, sorry, he or she learns that language, we can say in a natural way, maybe that is about acquisition.
Very good. That's acquisition. Now, what is going to be learning?
With a pedagogical background, or well, I can say a pedagogical because it depends on a like a it depends of
Maybe
a
what we
teaching
are
process,
Yeah, a formal instruction.
it, what we
a
are
formal
doing right
instruction.
now, or what we are doing in studying foreign
Very
languages,
good. That's it. So learning.
because we learn
Also,
grammar rules, how we need to have a correct pronunciation, is more like structured.
Very good. That's it.
depends on our attitude.
Very good. Okay. Now, that's the issue. Okay. Now, the monitor hypothesis.
You talked about Yeah, you talked about that one, but I don't get that well. I guess that it was like a relationship between learning and acquisition,
Yes.
but it depends on what. It depends on what for making this one works, I
Okay.
mean.
So the monitor right here is going to be focused on getting to know the rule, right? On understanding the instruction, right? And to see how able you are to learn. So if you're going to learn everything all the time, you're going to be self-instructing yourselves, or if you're going to just sit, you're going to be sat, sorry, and you're going to learn everything just by listening and conceptualizing, or are you going to how can I say this? You're going to interact with that knowledge, right? So you're going to listen and interact, listen and look for information. So that is going to be the optimal monitor
Teacher,
user. Yes?
teacher monitor uh, uh, make reference to what
About learning.
Yes, of course.
Is
Hmm.
learning.
okay,
But it's not monitor isn't acquisition, right?
Well,
That you're
no,
not acquiring anything.
no,
I mean,
you're going
you're
to be
learning,
learning, yeah.
but you're not acquiring.
Hmm. So monitor right here is going to be
Yeah,
just
and the acquisition.
monitor right here is going to be what you're going to take into account related to what you want to learn, right? Example, you're going to monitor your own language process, language learning process. So let's say, for example, today I have to learn this, and this. And tomorrow I have to learn this, and that. And the day after tomorrow, we have to learn this, and that. By the end of this term, I need to understand this, and this, right? So therefore, um, that monitor over users is because you're going to be learning all time long, right? When I say, for example, monitors under users, it is going to be, for example, they're not going to use the conscious knowledge. What is that? That they're going to be just listening, comprehending, right? But they're going to be interacting. And now the optimal monitor users is going to be just those students who are going to say, for example, they know what they need to learn, but they are going to be understanding at their own pace, at their own level, at their own speed. And after that, they're going to say if they're able to continue to the next level or not. Got it?
Yes, a little bit confused, but
Nah,
yes,
not
I
to
got
worry.
the
I'm going
the
to provide you a very good web page related to all Stephen Krashen's theories, and you're going to
Mhm.
go far beyond that. Okay. Okay. Now it says right here the
Okay.
natural order of hypothesis. What is that? That we're going to learn from a what? From
Depending on accuracy and what? And competence?
yes, very good, and also and instructions, right? So
Instructions,
as we
okay.
see right here, average order of acquisition grammatical morphemes for English as a second language. So we're going to learn, for example, first, that is going to be the first idea is going to be the ing. So how to use the progressive form. Then we're going to use the plural forms. Then we're going to use the verb to be. Then we're going to use the auxiliaries. Then we're going to use the articles. Then we're going to use the regular past. After that, the regular past. And then the third person of the singular. And then the possessive with the final S. So this is going to be something like an structured way for the students to learn, right? So the natural order of the natural order hypothesis, meaning that we're going to continue or we're going to learn based on some instructions, but these instructions are going to tell us what is first, what is second, what is next, right? So And here, this is going to be just related to morphemes, right? So, right here, um, Mason, 2002, he said that, well, this is not very good, right? Because this could be just explaining an unitary process, right? So, for example, ing and when to use ing and how to use it in a natural way. So maybe it's going to be kind of good, but maybe this is not going to be understood, and maybe people are going to create mistakes or errors just because of a bad learning process, right? Then we have Mason, 2002, he says also that any language learner's behavior may vary, as I was telling you. So a morpheme present today may disappear tomorrow, right? So right here we need to take into account what the context is going to provide, right? And well, so far so good. That is going to be just the natural order hypothesis. So telling the student what to learn, right? But in an strict a strict form, right? So that is that. It's going to be just like teaching grammar inside a natural what? A natural environment, as you can see over there. Okay. The other one right here, one of the most important hypotheses by Krashen is going to be the input hypothesis, or as it can be understood as I plus one or input plus one, right? So what is this? So this is going to be, this is stated right there by Krashen, 1985. Yeah, he has been working with all of those hypotheses all this time. Um, and he said that this is going to these issues or these utterances are going to be understood by hearing or reading. Therefore, so far so good when you're going to have an input. But what can be an input? An input right here could be the element you're going to provide the student for he or she to have an interaction with. Example, that learner needs to have a kind of to be exposed with something comprehensible.
Teacher, what's an input?
Input is what you get, what you receive. Output is what you produce, right? For example, input
Okay.
in computers in programming, input is going to be just the codes that you're going to put inside the program. Output is what is at the end, what you're going to get, what you're going to show, right? Input, for example, all the information that I'm giving you to you is going to be an input, right? Because you're acquiring that, you're understanding that, you're in the learning process. And the output is when you start creating questions, when you start interacting with the information, with the provided information, right?
Okay.
Okay, so here, this is going to be just only concerned, well, this is going to be just concerned with the acquisition, right? Why? Because you're going to understand the whole thing, because there's going to be a very good or yeah a clarified idea or example related to what we're talking about, right? Well, but this is not going to be just related to um, acquisition. This is learning too, right? What we're doing. So here, we're going to understand the messages, right, in a very comprehensible input. Example, if we're talking about, for example, this COVID-19, right? What is going to be the input? So, for example, the images that we're watching on the news or on the social media related to the amount, the number of infected ones all around the earth and all around Colombia, right? And also the number of people that have died just because of this pandemics, right? So it's going to be like that. So what is an input? It's going to be, for example, a recording, a video recording, an audio recording, a flashcard, an image. Those things are going to be input. So you get something, you understand it, right? Now, this is going to be a result of acquisition. So the more exposed you are to materials that you can understand and you can acquire the information is going to be related to this input hypothesis, right? And if the input is totally understood, meaning that there was enough information, enough resources for the students to understand this, so therefore the grammar is going to automatically provided, right? Therefore the grammar right here is going to be taught at a inductive way, inductive? No, deductive way, right? So you're going to
Mm.
deduce the use of grammar because of the use of it.
Because, for example, when we are reading a book and that it's barely comprehensive for
Mm-hmm.
us, it means that we're doing an acquisition process because we don't have to look in the dictionary for the word as we would do in a more complex book or something
Sounds
like
like
that.
that, yeah. So, for example, well, but by reading the book, we're not having right here a process of acquisition, but learning, maybe learning and acquisition at the same time. But let's suppose the book right here is going to be the input, right? So,
But as you said on the last what on the
slide,
last slide, could you pass
yeah,
it back, please? In that case, it said that, for example, the grammar is automatically
provided, yeah.
provided. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
we
perfect.
we know what we already know that, and we are just like we're practicing because we're reading it faster and we
Very good.
understand what we're
That's
doing.
it. Very good. So, for example, yeah, what you're saying is right. Let's say, for example, we start with a book related to the A1 level, and then we continue with that A2, and then we continue with that B1, C1,
Being with
yeah,
Paul, and we don't understand
and then we're
anything.
going to understand everything because we have been following a process, right? Therefore, that
Hmm.
acquisition process or that input is because you're going to be exposed to that directly, right? Example, if you see, for example, the people from the rural area, there are going to be some people that they use the language at a proper way. But why? Because they have been listening to the radio shows and to the what is this? To the got it. To the radio shows and to the news constantly, right? So they know how to use language just because of that input, right? Now, let's suppose there's another person that he hasn't gone to school, but he reads every day the newspapers, right? So therefore, he or she is in the way or with the aptitude and the attitude, sorry, to keep on going farther, right? Okay. So now, what is going to be just related to this? This is going to be just related to one main aspect that the communicative language teaching approach is going to be also related to the cooperative learning approach or something that is going to be scaffolding. And what is scaffolding? So this is going to be just the instructions or the support given to a student by an instruction throughout the learning process. Therefore, you're going to be told what to learn in yeah by being followed, by being assessed, right? So this natural communicative input is going to be designed inside the syllabus, right? So what to learn, how to learn it, what is going to be the exposure to it, and also which are going to be the tools and the materials implemented for the student to understand it, right? So this is going to be related to an interaction hypothesis. right? And as a result of this, we're going to have a modified interaction. So what you knew, what you're learning, and what you're going to share with others for you to create a deeper understanding. So that is why we're talking about the cooperative learning approach under the scope of the communicative language teaching approach. So you use communication with others in order to understand and learn even more. Okay. Now, one of the key ideas taken from Krashen was the idea related to Vygotsky, right? Related to the zone of proximal development. So that is called social constructivism. And this is going to be just what this idea related from Krashen is based on Vygotskiy's concepts. And we can see right here this idea related to the ecology of language acquisition. So take a look about that. And if we see right here the input. So the input is going to be just related to what the teacher taught, right? Now, the textbook, the material, what other students can interact or can say inside the classroom, the nonverbal expressions outside of the class, and what you do it by yourself. So those are going to be just all the issues related to what input is. Now, based on this, we're going to continue with something else that is going to be just related to the seeds of predisposition, right? So, which are going to be those seeds of predisposition? So, for example, innate factors, meaning what you think you know about the topic. And that is that. Just the previous the experience, the cultural background you have, the kind of intelligence that you're dealing with, and your aptitude, right? These are going to be related to something else, the soil of style, right? So if I have the seeds of predisposition, I need to put those seeds in one part. So it's going to be the soil, right? So how to use all of these ideas in order to be taking advantage about this. So you're going to create problem solving styles, or they are going to create that. They are going to create cognitive styles, and also you're going to take into account the personality, right? So what intuition and empathy can generate. As the seeds they need to germinate, so we have direct strategies, memory strategies, affective strategies, social strategies, and metacognitive strategies. Now we're going to create the root of competences. And these root of competences are going to let us know the following ideas. So that is going to be the inferred competence. So the intake, what you get, right? So the phonological rules, so you're going to learn that. The grammatical rules in a direct or indirect way. The discourse rules. The more you listen to someone else using these rules, the better. The social linguistic rules, the pragmatic rules, reception rules, production rules, blah, blah, blah. And all of these ideas right here. As we are out of time, I'm going to try to finish this presentation. No, this part, and then I think I'm going to finish this with tonight with a what? With a video, and that's it. Well, I'm going to stop right here with the presentation because time is over, and that's it, right? So, what I want you to do is to here. What I want you to do right now is to look information about Stephen Krashen, and I'm going to give you a web page about all of these ideas, because one of these days there's going to be what? Okay, Angelica, not to worry. Angelica went out. Okay. So I'm going to give you this web page for you to work with this. And also I'm going to upload this information to Edmodo for you to read it. And that's it. Fabian, nice to see you here. And yeah, same thing. Have a good day too. And as I was telling you, for you to read this information, right? Next class, I'm going to give you, let's say later on, I'm going to give you more ideas related to what you are going to bring or to do for next class, okay? And also there's going to be a little assignment, but I'm going to explain the whole thing you need to do, and that's all. Well, guys, I'm going to stop the recording right here, and
Teacher.
okay.